one thing that's great about doing any kind of project is if you are impressed by the people who are doing it and you feel like you're the weakest link in the whole thing, that's the most fun events to do ever.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Innersleeve on the SoundMojo podcast network, the podcast that gives you a deep dive inside look at all things music. I'm your host, Cassius Morris, and I'm joined with a very special guest all the way from Japan, my friend Marty Friedman. How are you doing, Marty?
How you doing, Cassius? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Now, so much has changed in the world since we last talked. And, you know, it'd be maybe a bit of a miss to ask how things have been going over if I didn't ask how things are going over in Japan and what life's been like for you the past couple of months.
Well, every place has its own set of challenges. I think Japan is probably a little luckier than some places and less lucky than others. Music is extremely important in this country, so people are really bending over backwards to try to make music happen in the safest way possible and do as much as possible. It's still extremely strict, as you could imagine, that Japan is very orderly and organized, and kind of rules are rules, and that's why it's relatively safer than certain other places. But I kind of like to think that it's like you work twice as hard and get half the results.
Okay.
But that's better than not working at all and getting zero results.
This is true.
So this is pretty much the thing. I mean, everything that you do here, whether it be playing live or do a television program or radio or anything that we're used to doing in normal life, takes about twice the work to get half of the results, really. I mean, and that's okay, because the alternative is much worse. I mean, things are getting done. Things are moving on. Concerts are happening. Live streams are becoming absolutely stunning as a completely new art form and a new method of enjoying a live concert. Yeah. Which didn't exist a year ago, especially what they're doing now. It's just out of control. So people are working twice as hard and things are moving, but hopefully, things will move smoother in the next couple months or a year, and we'll see what happens.
100%. I mean, one can only hope. And it's so interesting to me. You moved to Japan in the early or mid 90s, correct?
No, I moved to Japan in like 2003.
2003. Okay. So what really drew you there? Was it one of those situations where you were out on tour and you went there and you said, I really love this? Or had you been to Japan before your music career?
Well, that was pretty much correct. I mean, when I first started touring in Japan, I thought, this is awesome. It was just a really, really enjoyable experience. But anywhere you go, you're going to feel excited about it on tour. But
right. I
think what got me seriously thinking about coming here to live was definitely the music. The music is so, what's the word? I don't know if indigenous is the right word. My English has gotten so weak since I've lived here. The music is so Japanese.
Right. It's set right to where it's from, so to speak, to its roots.
Yeah, there's a lot of Japanese roots even in the current music.
Right.
Of course, there's influences from all around the world, but for some reason, if there's not a huge Japanese stamp on the sound of the music, it just doesn't go over very well here. For example, I mean, if you look at the music sales in Japan, 80% of what gets sold here in Japan is domestic music.
Wow.
And the other 20% is all of the other things that are big around the world, all the major acts and the really well-known people make up the 20%. But in this country, it's very, very domestic, and the music has a very specific sound. And for whatever reason, that sound appealed to me. Every time I'd come here on tour, I'd be like, they don't listen to the same thing we listen to back home. And I just really started to pick up on it, buying all these CDs and bringing them back and listening to them in the airplane and listening to them backstage and learning the music and trying to work with some of the people in the Japanese industry, but it was very hard to do that from America. So the only way to really get into the Japanese domestic music scene was to come here and set up base here and live here. And it was really a cross between genius and stupidity. But,
as most creative things are.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding. I mean, it was definitely by far the best career choice that I've ever done, and mentally and healthfully and satisfactionally. I can't even
all around.
All of those things. It's just been a great move. Of course, I love being back in my home country in America and all the other countries I get to tour. But I think Japan has offered me a lot of opportunities to do, to stretch out and really see what kind of potential I might have.
That's super fascinating. And, I mean, in terms of other countries that you could compare in terms of mostly consuming their domestic music and having a small percentage be outsourced, America could be one of the only countries and maybe, regions in India and things like that can be compared. But I would say usually they're taking in that American stuff. So that's really fascinating to take note of. And on that note, we have a question from YouTube here from Fura21 is the username. And they want to know, how has Japanese music influenced your compositions, especially since you moved to Japan?
I think in a lot of ways, anywhere you live, anywhere you spend your time, that energy, that air, that everything's you're gonna absorb that because it's your life. I mean, your life literally comes out through your melodies and through your music and through your art, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So your life comes out in it. So like since I've been here, all of my Japanese experiences have come out in the music. And of course, working with so many Japanese artists constantly, that's going to influence it as well, because it's such a completely different way of creating music than what I grew up with in America. Right. Just concepts are different, melodic turns and twists are different. The way music gets composed here is quite different. So doing all those things really puts a different influence in my original music and anything that I work on, really.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a completely different world, and you're taking in those surroundings, and you seem to really enjoy it. So talk to me about the live stream that you have coming up. There's a lot of expectations, high expectations for this stream, and I think there should be, because this is set to take place in a new multi-dimensional virtual atmosphere. That's how it's billed. Talk to me about this new atmosphere and the motion graphics creators that you've been partnering with.
Yes, this motion graphics, I don't even know if that's the right word in English, but the designer of the entire show is a stage designer and a set designer for many of the major concerts here in Japan. And I first met him, his name is Nobuyuki Hanabusa, and I met him when I played with Momoito Clover. They did a very massive Christmas concert, and I joined them for a couple songs on stage, but it was me and an 100-piece choir, and the staging was just so incredible how they did this. It just was like nothing I'd ever seen before at a concert, and I always remembered the guy who put it together. He was just kind of a mad genius. And so we kind of stayed in touch, and we were going to do a project together just before the pandemic hit, so that kind of went off. But then when it came time to do a streaming live concert, he was the first guy I called, and he had all kinds of ideas, and this kind of multi-dimensional environment was kind of a concept of his that we're playing live. Actually, for the band, it's not really much different, but the context is that we're playing in this kind of it's like a big warehouse. It's not a live venue, it's a warehouse, but there's 360 degrees of LEDs.
Wow.
So we're kind of, like the ceilings, the floors, it's all LEDs, so you can control what is on every angle that you come from. So we could be on the moon in one place, or we could be in a completely hurtling through space or whatever.
Right.
There's like kind of a very, a lot of potential to see his talent in creating this stuff. And so having these things from all different angles allows a lot of different camera angles, as well as, since it's not a regular live venue, we can have ourselves positioned in a different lineup than you normally see with a rock band. You see a drummer and then you see guys in front.
Right.
But we're like kind of facing each other in some points, and then we're in completely different areas in other points.
Wow.
And it's kind of a monitoring nightmare. And but we're all going to be, ear monitors and all that, so we'll be able to deal with that. But from the pre-production that I've been involved with up till now, it's like nothing I've ever done before. Very ambitious, and I really wanted to make kind of a statement, because not really a really important statement, but I wanted to, since streaming concerts have become kind of the norm now, we might as well do something cool with it.
Yes.
It's not just about showing a recital of the music. Let's see what the limits are of this new medium, and let's see what we can do to, my music and guitar music is it's kind of familiar. The sound of my guitar is familiar to people, but I would like to put it in a context that's really new, that's going to last for a while. And this streaming thing is, because it's only going to get more intense and better technology and more creative visions and super talented people working on this stuff already happening in Japan. So I really wanted to get into that side of it for this performance, because as much as I'd love to get on tour right now and play for everybody and sweat for everybody in person, that might not be a reality for the next couple months, or maybe more, a year or something like that. So we've got this great technology and great super talented individuals, so I wanted to do something really ambitious and difficult and challenging and risky, and so that's what the New Year's Day show is going to be.
Wow, my mind's already blown and I haven't even seen it. So a number of questions about what you just laid out. In terms of the elements that are 360, are these elements that are going to be visible to the viewer only, or are you guys actually going to be seeing this around you physically?
Oh, we're going to be seeing around us.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Wow.
That's what I'm the most anxious about, is that, because when we went into we did a first pre-production meeting and checked the place out. It's going to be very strange to play when you can't see below you.
Right.
Because
it's all lights.
You're standing on an LED kind of a. It doesn't feel different for your feet or anything, but if you look down, there's no gravity depending on the scenes that they're putting under there, and you're just kind of. It's very disorienting. Luckily, I do a lot of my playing with my eyes closed.
Right. So that helps you out.
It definitely helps me out, because it's very disconcerting. We'll be doing a huge pre-production full day of the show before New Year's Day when we actually do the thing live. So hopefully one full day will get me used to it. But I noticed that when we did a short little thing, having my eyes closed made it 1,000 times easier. And that's just a habit that I've had since a teenager, because when you're a teenager and you're playing in garage bands and playing little dives and stuff, there's always somebody messing with a strobe light.
Right.
There's always some maniac at the lighting things making lights go crazy. So I developed at an extremely early age a distaste for that. And the only way to beat it is to just shut up and close your eyes. So I do that now too.
So you were tempted to try it with your eyes open just because there were so many new elements, but then you went back to that old way and said, hey, this is better.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to see what was going on, and I wanted to see what I was dealing with. But it's a whole lot easier to do it with your eyes closed, but there's going to be a lot of cues that we're going to have to meet and marks that we're going to have to land on and stuff like that, and movements and things like that. So it's a little bit of a production, but not too much different from what I normally do live anyway. I mean, we're a very energetic band that moves around a lot and try to interact with the audience. And this time the audience will not be in front of us. So we're going to be interacting with the staff who are doing it there. And what's going to be very strange for me is I'm going to do it all in English, but the staff is all Japanese, and they won't understand a word that I'm saying.
Okay, so maybe you might have to switch back and forth for. I mean, hopefully you won't have to talk to them while it's happening, but
I will have to be talking because it's going to be a concert. I mean, it's going to be a full-on, just like a regular show from top to bottom.
Oh, man.
And I'm going to be talking to the audience, but the audience, I'm going to do it in English because the English is probably the most understood language that I can speak anyway. But the ironic thing is everyone in the studio or where we're filming this is all Japanese and no one speaks English. So, I could say complete nonsense and they wouldn't know what I'm saying.
Just wait for the end of the speech and then the next song.
Yeah, and it's very strange to not have a reaction. But, sometimes, you play shows and you don't get a reaction anyway. So it's just like that's the thing.
Maybe when you're talking about those bar days and those first days, maybe that's definitely something that would happen then, or I guess maybe even in a bigger forum. So
it happens. Yeah, it happens. So any situation you can imagine happens. And I'm just kind of looking forward to the new experience of it. And I just love the people around. One thing that's great about doing any kind of project is if you are impressed by the people who are doing it and you feel like you're the weakest link in the whole thing, that's the most fun events to do ever. Because you just let people do their stuff. You surround yourself with people who are fantastic and they're great, and you just let them do it, and they just make you look good, and when you're looking good, you feel good. So that's what's happening with this thing. And I'm really, when I see the work that they've put into it, just for one show, it's not like we're going on tour, when you go on,
right.
I'm sure that huge artists, when they put together a massive tour, they do a lot of very innovative ways to present the tour, but that goes for an entire tour for a year. This is just for one day.
That's insane.
Just to see the amount that's gone into it, I'm definitely the weakest link in the equation. So I love gigs like that.
Let's say this goes better than expected, and I think it's going to go absolutely incredible. Is there potential that you would try to take something like this on the road when it's open?
I don't see this happening because the venue that we're doing this thing in has been kind of adjusted to do this actual show. And I don't see how we could make a venue do the things that we're about to do with cameras and angles and things like that. So it's kind of a controlled environment in that case. And
right.
And I don't see it happening, but who knows? I mean, when we finally see the thing done and after we watch the performance, I'm sure we'll be inspired to add to our actual live concert with certain different things.
100%. So when we're talking a warehouse, are we talking, let's say a warehouse at in the back of Costco size, or are we talking like an aircraft hangar? How big of an empty space are we talking?
It's kind of like I don't really know how big an aircraft hangar is, but it's often like, you see sometimes music videos are shot in these big kind of aircraft hangar type of things.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not the full size, but similar.
Yeah, it's not very big, but there are separate rooms in it and rooms that are connected. So what we're planning to do is some of the songs, depending on the type of the song, I'll be playing away from the band, and we'll be playing in 2 and 2 and 1 and 3 and all 4 together. And so we can move freely from during the show in these different rooms, and the camera can follow us around. We're all wireless. And depending on the actual what's going to be projected on the LEDs, will be moving accordingly. So it's going to kind of be a different way to view concerts because there's several different rooms. It's not all in the same room. It's not all the same visual thing.
Right. Did you ever see yourself doing something like this, being that you're living in Japan and technologically I think they're incredibly advanced, or is something like this a situation that you just could have never pictured?
I don't really know how this thing is going to look.
Right, so you maybe can't picture it now.
I can't. I mean, I just know that when we did the first very rough run through, I just knew this is something I've never done before, and for better or for worse, it's going to definitely be fresh, and it's definitely going to be different. But anytime you do anything in Japan, it's kind of different, and there's a lot of very experimental things going on. Not all of them go great. There's a lot of like throwing spaghetti up at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
But that's why there's just a lot of weird stuff, and every once in a while, sometimes something very, very cool happens, and I've been lucky to be in a lot of those situations and participated on different levels, be it like playing in concerts or television programs and things like that. But there's never a lack of weird, eccentric imagination going on, and that's kind of good for me because it helps me, create music better. I don't like to do the same thing all the time.
No, definitely not. And you mentioned the sort of mad creative genius in a positive sense, how that's a trait that you like to work with. When did you sort of realize that, and is that something that you make an effort to try to scout, being that you sort of identify that in people?
Yeah, I do, because I've been playing music so long. I mean, I've been playing music really as a life since I was in my mid-teens. Wow. So I've done everything.
Yeah.
I still love doing everything. But I really love it when there's some new little twist to it, something that, is different, and it can be something very slight. Like, for example, on Christmas Eve, I'm going to be playing a duet with just guitar and cello.
Oh, nice.
On live radio, and this is something I've never done before, so that's a fun thing to do. Anything that's new is going to get more immediate excitement out of me. So Japan has been very good for me in that sense, and there's just always been opportunities to try new stuff and hopefully get lucky.
Totally. I love that. And speaking of Japan, a question from YouTube, Brandon Atchison wants to know, what is one thing in Japan that was the hardest for you to get used to when you first moved?
Oh, good question. Oh, wow. Actually,
it might be hard to pick one.
Actually, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, because I'd been to Japan so many times and I kind of knew the rules, and there's a lot of rules. I think the hardest one, the only one that I really had trouble with, and it wasn't a big deal, was the separating of garbage.
Okay.
Garbage and recycling is a definite thing over here, and it's, if you go to like any place where trash is thrown out, like in your apartment building or in your housing complex or wherever you are, the trash is clean.
Even the trash room.
You clean the actual trash before you throw it out.
Oh my gosh.
So, like if there's a box, say you have a cardboard box and there's a lot of tape and labels and stuff on it, you got to take all that sticky stuff off. And all that garbage off, and so the box is pristine and can be recycled. Wow, and that's insane. You have like a soda bottle that you drink, you have to wash the thing out and then take the label off, which is also recyclable, and separate that and put it in a different recyclable column, and then separate. And all these things took a lot of time for me. In my very first apartment, I remember I threw something out wrong and got caught by the landlady there. And because like I put this bag down of trash, and you could hear like the clink of like a bottle. And that bottle was not supposed to be in that trash bag. You can't. Wow. Bottles and paper and all that stuff. So she heard the clink, and she happened to be there, and her head turned around like, like this, and like, oh my god, and then like here I am, another foreigner making us all look bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, I got a tiptoe around here, you know, like I'm doing my thing.
That was a thing back then, but that I quickly adjusted to that, and it's a very, very clean place, you know.
Wow, that's incredible. So I guess that would totally be something that's different from when you're living there than when you're in a hotel or something, because you probably just leave your stuff and that's the end of it. And it does look remarkably clean around there. You know, I think that's something that they can take pride in for sure.
Well, another thing was like when you're on tour, that's the focus of the entire record company, the promoters, the touring company. Everybody's focused on you guys for those 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long you're in Japan.
Right.
So you've got, you know, security director, you've got the label person, you got the A&R person, you got somebody from the promoter watching each of the band members, taking you where you want to go, taking you out to great dinners and food and shopping, and they take you everywhere, and they checking you in and dealing with any issues, and so they are like treating you fantastic while you're on tour. But if you go there and you're not on tour, you're totally on your own, and there ain't nobody doing nothing for you. So that was the first thing that I noticed. I'm like, wow, I actually have to do this myself. Okay. So that took a little getting used to, but it's only common sense. I mean, when you're on tour, they got to make sure the tour goes off without a hitch and everybody's happy and healthy and all that. But when you're trying to live there, you know, you're kind of not nearly as top priority.
So you get looked at a little bit differently, just being that you're foreign from the region.
Oh, certainly. That is. And but one good thing about well, not a good thing about the pandemic, but since masks are such a thing right now, you know, I can go out pretty much undetected. All I do is put my hair up and wear a mask, and I did that anyway. But now it's okay to wear a mask and sunglasses, so it's really just easy to go out and go amongst the masses with no problem, and I like that.
That makes sense. So being that you have quite a large element of fame, did that help you or hurt you in terms of adjusting there and in terms of situations like this, I wonder?
It definitely helped because I came here because I wanted to do a lot of creative new work here that I enjoyed, mostly musically, but there were a whole lot of other things that I wanted to do that I've been doing. And so getting some kind of recognition helps you get from one thing to another and helps you do a lot of those work things. And so definitely happy about that. And I certainly don't mind talking to fans and meeting people on the street, and I love that, actually. But sometimes you just want to go and, get something to eat and come home. And so in those cases, you know, you wear a mask, you have sunglasses, you got a hoodie on. It's like really super easy lately. So that's a really easy thing. But getting some sort of recognition has been a blessing for me more than anything else.
That makes sense. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people might try to flip it around and say, oh, no, it hasn't helped at all, when it actually has. But, you know, these are the facts of the matter. And you're definitely not just going to be seen as some foreigner if, you have recognition. So that totally makes sense to me. There's a question here from Twitter @Zalius. He says, what do you think is the most important aspect when it comes to gaining individuality as a musician?
Oh, well, important question. I think everybody already holds the answer without even being told. But it's a question that comes up a lot. And I believe that every person who enjoys music and has enough of an urge to play music that they actually go out and buy a musical instrument. Right. I mean, if something inside you tells you, okay, I'm going to take this amount of money and go to a store and purchase an instrument, there's like some light inside of you. You have something to say, whether it be I like this music or I really love to be like this guy, or it's saying something.
Yeah.
There's something in your life that you want to say musically. And depending on how you cultivate that light inside of you, you have to like take it seriously. You know, you have to look at why you want to do this. Most of us started out playing music and continue to play music because they want to get chicks.
Right.
And this is equally valid. Because it's not only music. Everybody wants to get chicks. No matter what job they're doing, if you're successful at it, that's when the chicks come.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're, doctors have no problem getting women.
Yeah.
but people choose certain things, and when it's a music and there's a light inside of you, and you have to like really follow that and follow the music that you love and let that guide you. And what's going to kind of trip you up is like when you're learning your instrument, you're going to be bombarded with people telling you, you need to learn this because this is what good guitar is, or this is what a great saxophone player sounds like, or this is popular. So if you want to make money, you got to play like this. These are the things that will constantly, even when you're a professional, be your hurdles. And it's okay to listen to these things and entertain these concepts, but you cannot lose touch with that light that's inside. I hate those corny new age terms. I hate it, but it's true.
It's the best description.
Yeah, the light, you can't lose touch with that. Otherwise, someday you're going to forget why you're even doing this in the first place, and you won't have the motivation that it takes in this crazy, intense, difficult business. But if you keep doing it because it's what you really, really love, kind of like the way you're doing what you do, I mean, it's just what you do. I mean, whether you succeed or you fail, you know you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's the common thread between anyone who's got a long career. They'd be doing it anyway. But I think if you lose sight of why you're doing it or what it is about it that you like, that's the danger point. So that's also going to keep your individuality, is if you are very much in touch with what you like and how to do what you like, rather than, well, I'm pretty good. I hate playing bass, but I'm pretty good at it, so I'll play bass forever. That's not it. You have to do what you want. It sounds so simple, but you really have to analyze what it is you want to do at this stage in your life right now. What is it I want to do, and how can I inch towards that rather than inch towards what this guy is saying or what that guy's saying? And these are the challenge. That's what individuality comes out of.
It's so true. And, one of the greatest quotes I've ever learned from a band that we both love, Kiss, Gene Simmons, he talks about some of the song lyrics he wrote, and he says, you get in trouble when you look for meaning where there is none. Your man is working hard, he's worth a deuce. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything, So at that same token, there doesn't need to be a super deep meaning to finding individuality. I mean, it can be right there in front of us, and maybe we just have to access it. Have you ever lost, or did you ever lose throughout your career that why I'm doing this?
No, luckily, because in the music business, there's so many incredible challenges, and none of them have to do with playing music. And as you'll find, I'm sure you talk to a lot of artists of all genres and fields, but most of us hate everything but the performing part of it.
Right.
It's the things that lead to being able to perform that are such a massive pain in the friggin' ass.
Yeah.
Things like, anything having to do with contracts or record companies or publishing copyright issues and promotional strategies and what's the word in English? Merchandising and all the things in the back, the kind of the running machine that you have to keep an eye on that'll allow you to stand there and play guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, playing guitar is like, it's easy. It's like brushing your teeth. Creating music, I love doing it. Even if it's insane hard work, I just love it because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But there are so many things in the back. Of course, I have people that do a lot of the things that I'm not able to do, but I have to know everything that's going on, and I have to sign off on a million different things, and I have to deal with record companies in several different languages.
Right.
And everybody's on the exact same team, but there's a lot of things that I have to learn that I don't really want in my memory bank. I just want to play. I want to play melodies. I want to play guitar. But all the things that allow me to play guitar are an extreme hassle. And those are the things that make me want to just say, fuck it. But I knew that if I did say fuck it, I'd be playing guitar anyway.
Right.
So
maybe not on a major label or show, though.
Yeah, that's right. I'd be playing like, in my bedroom. So I'd be doing it anyway. So you just get used to having to do things that are out of your comfort zone to allow you to continue to play music. I mean, talking to you is great because I know you're a super intelligent, insightful guy going places, and
thank you.
And you have good questions, and you're good to talk to, a super guy. But not all interviews and promotion are like that. A lot of times, it's a friggin' pain in the ass, and then what happens is they'll take something out of context, and that's the only thing people read, and that's what they put as the headline. There's no winning.
Yeah.
But you gotta promote things. So that part is really quite difficult, especially lately. So it's a joy to talk to you. But so those things are hard, and a lot of musicians get frustrated with that. And so I think everything is all about like all the things that lead up to allowing you to play your music, because playing music is a joy, creating music is a joy. It's all the other things that are really hard, but those are the things that, a lot of people, this is kind of an important point. You'll see, I think if you look on the internet especially, you'll see guys who can play amazing, amazing music. They've just play like, you've never seen guys play so great. Beautiful playing on every instrument. But how come you don't know about these guys? Because they're doing the playing part, which is fantastic, but it's all the other ass-kissing, waiting for people, doing all the insane pains in the ass things that have nothing to do with music for years and years.
Yeah. To
get people to even care about your music, and then when they finally care about it, they complain about it.
Right.
So it's not being in the music business for real. It's not for everyone. I mean, there's a lot of joy in playing music beautifully for your family or for your hometown. And some people might argue that that's an even happier existence than slugging it out in the music business for life. There's lifers in the music business. And for better or for worse, I'm one, and I know a lot of guys also who are doing the same. But there are some guys, you'll go to a town on tour, and you'll be at a meet and greet. A guy will pick up a guitar and play absolutely beautifully, and I'll say, "Wow, what are you doing? What's your band called?" And I do roofing.
Oh, right.
I've got 2 kids and a wife, but like there's happiness. You see, there's happiness. He has the beautiful feeling of creating wonderful music and great sounds from his fingers and playing and giving joy to people. And he also has that regular home life, which is like absolutely paradise.
Right. Taking
care of his family. So there's no one way that's better. There's no one way that's better than the other. But it takes a certain amount of, again, stupidity and genius to find the balance to keep in this crazy business for a long time. And that's why you see great people everywhere. But when you listen to the radio or watch videos, you see people that you might not think are that great, or you're surprised why this guy's not doing better than that guy. It has nothing to do with the actual playing. It has to do with everything that leads up to allowing people to hear you play.
Right, and that's absolutely fascinating when you take it and you apply it to any aspect of entertainment. Comedians, actors, some people will say, this guy's not as good as this person. Why are they here? Well, it's because they have mastered the behind the scenes part, and there's so many different things that people just don't anticipate. You know, do you think that most people don't anticipate that? And I guess to further that question, do you think that that's the reason for a lot of people's downfall in the music business?
Well, I don't like to say downfall, but I think that's a very big stumbling point, because not a lot of people are willing to be completely poor or homeless or any kind of demeaning thing for their music. And
Right.
It's just a matter of how much your music means to you, and or more importantly, how much getting music out to other people means to you. I mean, you could have music and keep it for yourself, and it can be wonderful. But if getting music to other people is important to you, that process is difficult. And but you know, some people, that's what they live to do. I mean, so I'm certainly not complaining about it. I'm just saying I've been accustomed to having to really deal with a lot of things that I think a lot of people would not deal with, because it's just so hard. You have to 24/7 be dealing with music. And I love it, and I love what I do, and I wouldn't complain. And you know, but not a lot of people like to be in a Norway airport at 3 a.m. for 6 hours waiting to a flight, you know, to some other place 17 hours away, day after day after day after day after day. I mean, not a lot of people really prefer to do that. Seriously. I don't mind doing that, so I'm very lucky in that situation.
That's absolutely stunning. And I mean, it's true. It takes a certain type of person, and they have to be cut out for it. I have one last question for you, Marty. I thank you so much for the time you shared with me this morning for you. The upcoming record, Tokyo Jukebox 3, is there anything you can tell us about the direction of the record or things to expect in terms of delivery?
Well, I'm going to talk to you again about that, hopefully when it comes out worldwide in April. But there is one video off of the album online right now called The Perfect World. You can check that out. And also, it's just a really pleasurable part of my series, the Tokyo Jukebox series. I've done 2 before it, obviously, and playing these songs around the world to non-Japanese people has been such a enlightening, fantastic thing. Of course, when I play these songs, when I arrange them and record them and release them, they've been through the Marty process. So if you heard them, you'd think it's just another one of Marty's songs. But no, it's a cover.
Right.
I'm covering someone else's songs, and I'm kind of putting it through my interpretation, so fans of my music won't get turned off by it.
Right.
And hopefully get turned on to it. And, you know, it's kind of like, and I'm sure you can understand this, people who are really into music, collectors of music and maniacs about music, there's nothing we'd like better than to like show off our record collection to people and talk about little details. And
yes.
And we would talk about it until everybody left your house because they can't stand hearing it anymore. We would love that. So the way I look at it is, I fell in love with this Japanese music when I first started coming here in the mid-90s and all that, and I just really, really became a maniac for it. So when I started doing my own versions on Tokyo Jukebox, I really, really destroyed them and did them my way and did them on tour around the world. And the reaction has been fantastic. And then the next time I come back to play that city, you know, I'd meet the fans and they'd say, dude, I love that song that you did, Kairi Takunate, and I researched it and I found the original version. Now I'm a big fan of Ikimonogatari, and I found this band through that, and I found this artist, and hearing that is just like, it's like you turn someone onto your record collection, and just a really wonderful connection. And they would never find it, because who, is in Turkey is going to find some kind of Japanese hit song, and plus, most of the people that come to my shows are like either metal fans or guitar fans, or they followed me for a long time or whatever. They're not going to find these Japanese pop mainstream songs because it's just not in their radar.
Yeah.
There was something about it that really turned me on about this music. And even though it's not guitar oriented and it's not heavy metal, there's something that I really dig. And so when I can like pass that over to other people, I get a big thrill out of it. And a lot of times fans come up to me and they say, I'm trying to learn Japanese because of what you did. And they come speaking to me in Japanese, and it is just so strange to be here. I'm an American guy, and there's some guy in Santiago, Chile speaking to me in Japanese. And the people around me are just like, what's going on here? And this happens so much, and it's very inspiring. Of course, I'm very accustomed to people, hearing my guitar and talking guitars and stuff, and I love that. But it's kind of new. It's fresh when people come at me with other things. Yeah. And that's what the Tokyo Jukebox series has done. And so having that experience in my pocket now, recording Tokyo Jukebox 3, it's really a whole new level of just kind of back and forth love with the people who are discovering the music, and more stuff that I want to show these people.
Unbelievable. And you seem really happy, Marty, and I think that what you're doing is incredible. Everything you do, you're making it your own while also giving people a taste of another culture, and God bless you. I think it's amazing.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And of course, everybody who's tuning into this right now through WatchMojo, make sure to go check out the link in the description of this stream, whether you're watching on video, listening on audio, to get tickets to the Marty Friedman live stream event. Ring in the new year with Marty Friedman and his incredible band. This is going to be a groundbreaking virtual reality experience like none other, and I highly encourage you guys to check it out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks a lot.